What's going on, you guys? Jason Robb here. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over our top 3 exercises that we've been implementing on both pull days throughout each and every week of our training split currently. So let's get into it.
All right, guys, so the first exercise up is overhead cable curls. Now, this is an exercise that me and Jace have neglected in the past, but has been one that we've started to implement more routinely. And let me tell you guys, this is an absolutely phenomenal exercise. The contraction that you get is absolutely mind-blowing, and the stimulation and just overall hypertrophy that you experience is something that you definitely need to experience hands-on.
Absolutely. And I think the angle on this allows you to target the bicep peak a little more specifically. I think in terms of the overall sculpting of your biceps, if you're getting that 3D look when you cut down from the front, specifically like a front double bicep pose, you'll really notice that this exercise can pay a lot of dividends in the sculpting of the overall peak. And from a beginner standpoint, this is one that you really don't have to be an ego lifter and go heavy on. I mean, you're really going to see a lot of growth and stimulation in terms of the overall squeeze.
Definitely, and that's a majority for all bicep work. You don't really need to train heavy bicep work. Me and Jason have lightened up the load, and the growth that we've been able to experience and the injury prevention that we've been able to experience as well is something that we've been able to benefit on tremendously.
Absolutely. And so we filmed 2 sets here. We increased the weight, I think, from 40 on either side to 60. Yeah. And as you go to 60, that's when we really kind of controlled the tempo a little more, as you're seeing on this one here.
It's absolutely a tremendous exercise, guys.
All right, guys. So the next exercise that you're seeing here is going to be a seated alternating dumbbell curl. I remember first seeing this particular exercise get done in pumping iron when I was super young, and I think it's an exercise that's been done since the dawn of bodybuilding. Yep. But it's an exercise that me and Rob have absolutely incorporated ever since we started training together. In my opinion, one of the best in terms of overall squeeze and developing your bicep peak. Notice here how I'm really honing in on that twist at the top there. It's not something that I always did. It's something that I learned in my later years when I started watching some of the greats. And you'll notice here Robert is incorporating a lot of awesome tempo here. We're not going super fast. We're not jerking at all. As you can see, it's very controlled. You see the rotation of the head really honing in on the mind-muscle connection there.
And as you can see, pay very close attention to my shoulders, guys. Yeah. There's really no momentum or any type of rotation coming from my shoulders. That's something that I see done very routinely by beginner lifters. They like to use a lot of momentum and jolt the weight up. Grab a nice moderate weight, one that you can control with a perfect tempo, and which will allow you to really hone in on that contraction at the top, which is going to overall create more stimulation and overall growth, which is what you're trying to accomplish when performing exercises such as these. Just a quick question, maybe you can clarify. Yeah. How has this exercise paid dividends to you?
I think in terms of cutting down, you'll notice here, watch this rep right here, boom. See that kind of split that I have in my bicep? That's something, I mean, I'm 210 pounds right now, but when I get to under 190-ish pounds, you really start to see it shine. I think in terms of the overall sculpting of the bicep peak, that twist at the top, and look at here how Rob's really controlling the eccentric. There's no crazy jerking. Rob's really controlling it on the way down. Just because your bicep tendon itself is a very delicate tendon, it could snap at any moment and you're on the shelf for 8 to 10 months. So really controlling the eccentric will pay dividends in terms of the overall progression on this exercise.
Absolutely. All right, guys, so the next exercise is going to be rope hammer curls, and this is an exercise that Jace actually introduced me to. This is an exercise that I really neglected, especially in my past years of training. I was just mainly sticking to like barbell work and dumbbell work, of course, but as I started to progress throughout my training and I started to get a little bit of tendonitis in the elbow, machines and rope curl and like rope cable curls have become a very dominant and staple exercises in my routine. And just a form check here, as you can see, Jace has a little twist at the top as he performs this exercise, and this is really going to allow you to hit that brachialis and just overall development in your bicep.
Absolutely. The brachialis is that little portion right in between the bicep and the tricep. It's really apparent as you cut down, and you'll kind of see here, you can kind of see there's a little bit of meat right in between my bicep in the front, my tricep in the rear there. And you'll notice that Rob's doing a really, really awesome job with the contraction here. I take a lot of pride in introducing that exercise to you. This has been an absolute staple in our training. And you can see there's about a half second to 1 second squeeze at the top for each and every rep. One tip that I really learned on this exercise from Christopher Jones, shout out to Chris Jones, Pump Chasers, he always says, imagine there's a walnut right in between your forearm right there. Crack that damn walnut.
Yeah.
That's something that I always hear. You see that contraction. And also look at that kind of sculpting in the forearm there. See that kind of meaty little portion of muscle right there? That I owe all this to heavy dumbbell hammer curls and this exercise here for sure. And I think this exercise, you'll see in a second here, we really, really incorporate drop sets into this exercise. I just moved the pin there. You didn't see it, but I went from about 110 on the cable there to about 70. And this 70 enables me to hammer out anywhere from 9 to 15 good solid reps.
And when you're doing cable work, it's very safe and effective to actually implement drop sets, especially as you progress from beginner to intermediate to advanced. You really need to create more types of stimulus and overload to keep pursuing hypertrophy.
Just camera work on the drop set.
So right here,
nice.
So as you can see, we dropped to the 70 and I knocked out as many more reps as I could. I went to about failure. Now my failure is about 1 rep away from failure. So as you can see, I'm just cranking them out here. Awesome exercise, guys. All right, guys, so that concludes our top 3 exercises for bicep growth. Before we go out, I just want to bring some questions across, Jay. So what are some of the biggest tips that you would provide to a beginner trying to implement this workout as far as rep range and sets?
Sure. I would totally not focus so much on lifting heavy on this. I would really start small. Don't feel insecure. Feel proud that you're able to start at a certain point, and there's a journey that's about to take place in your lifting career, specifically your biceps. It's the first thing girls notice. I mean, that's something that I was like, man, I want some freaking big biceps. It's one of the first, that's kind of what gets you into lifting, is like, man, I want some huge arms. I would suggest, really starting small, focus on the form, focus on the twist at the top, be methodical with the stretch. Reiterating back to what I said before, like biceps are a super delicate tendon. If you tear your bicep, I mean, man, that's a really, really hefty surgery. You're gonna have to book an MRI. You're gonna have to book a surgery. I mean, you're gonna be on the shelf for probably a year.
For quite some time.
And I mean, I haven't torn a bicep, but I know that we've both strained our biceps in the past.
Several times.
Trying to go heavy on a bulk and not playing it safe like we should have. Because I know John Meadows said, watching him, like I started to see most of my bicep growth when I lightened up the damn weight.
And really just honed in on that mind-muscle connection.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And as far as rep ranges go, guys, keep the reps fairly high. So we usually go between 12 and 15. If you want to create a little more stimulus, you can go 8 to 12, but 12 to 15 is that sweet spot for me and Jace. And as far as sets go, we incorporate about anywhere from 2 to 4 sets per exercise. That's all going to be dependent on your current split and routine. Just make sure you're not overloading on the volume to a point where you can't recover. So just keep that in mind. And anything else you want to add?
Yeah. What do you think? Because we hit our biceps on a pull day,
right?
Primarily. I know a lot of people hit bis and tris. What difference have you seen in terms of your overall growth with your biceps transitioning from a traditional bis and tris day to hitting your biceps primarily after some heavy lat pull downs or some heavy hammer strength work with your back?
So as you're doing heavy pulling exercises, you are getting a lot of stimulation in the bicep, even though it's all primarily in the lats. There's going to be some carryover into your biceps. So I kind of treat my bicep exercises as sculpting exercises, as additional work, accessory work, if you want to call it, because a lot of that stimulation and mass growth is going to occur from your heavy pulling movements, such as heavy lat pull downs, your pull-ups, your rows, things along those lines. And since switching to a push-pull leg split, that's something that I've started to incorporate, and I've definitely seen a tremendous amount of growth in my biceps with this current split.
Absolutely. That was beautifully said. And I think a lot of that is 100% on point, definitely in terms of the sculpting aspect, because you can absolutely hit a plateau in your bicep growth. I mean, I don't think my arms are going to get much bigger at all. I'm more so paying attention to detail. When I bulk up and I gain 40 to 50 pounds and I cut down, I'm looking for minor tweaks. It's like if a sculptor went up to one of his projects and kind of did certain tweaks, added certain things, little fine details, veins, certain areas that you didn't have before, certain separation that's a little more apparent to the naked eye. I mean, things like that, not necessarily overall size. That's when you can really start to hurt yourself.
Yeah. And that's something that you want to really focus in on as you kind of transition from an intermediate to more advanced lifter. But if you're in that beginner to intermediate stage, really just focus on technique and really finding the rhythm and really honing in on that range of motion. Don't cut your reps short. Go through the entire range of motion. Take the muscle through that entire range of motion so you can develop overall stimulus and overall growth.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. This was our second tutorial-based approach video. I think we're going to do a tricep one next, and then we'll probably do some upper chest, lower chest. And again, we want to give a huge shout out to our boy Trent down at Jacked Culture in Rockin', California. Thank you so much.
Had Jeremy Buendia in there today.
Yeah, I know. It was giving me goosebumps,
Crazy.
Man. Some Olympia level stuff in there.
It was wild.
Absolutely
But
wild.
Remember, guys, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And let us know down in the comments what you guys thought of this video. And let us know what you guys want to see next. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Yep. See you in the next
Peace.
video.